Hello, everyone. It's great to see you all here today. Very, very sorry about the delay in getting started. So I know a lot of you already, but for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jenny, and I'm the CEO and founder of an organization called SHLE. And SHLE works primarily with young people like yourselves on issues of environment and climate change and other things that are important to the local and global. I would really like to welcome you all to the Theatre Royal today to celebrate 2022 as the European Year of the Youth with our Make Your Voice Heard event, which hopefully gives you all the opportunity to say your bit, as well as highlighting some other young people who have been doing a pretty good job of being heard. The event is organized by ourselves at SHLE. It is also organized by Europe Direct Waterford, which is based in the Central Library, Waterford City, and is one of a network of local contact points that serve as the direct link between citizens and the EU institutions. Europe Direct is a service which helps you find answers to your questions about the European Union and is part of a network of over 400 centers throughout Europe. Also, with the Waterford and South Tipperary Community Youth Service, which works with over 4,000 young people on over 42 projects throughout Waterford and South Tipperary. They are also the Eurodesk representative for Waterford. And finally, the Waterford City and County Libraries, which I'm sure you know all about. The European Year itself is about shining a light on the importance of young people like yourselves to Europe to build a better future, a greener one, a more inclusive one, and a digital one. The European Year of Youth is this moment to move forward with confidence in a post-pandemic world. We have a very dynamic set of speakers and entertainers. To kick off, we're going to get a little bit of information from Amy Doherty, who is from the Youth Information Center, which is located in Manor Street. Please welcome Amy.
Thank you very much. As Jen said, my name is Amy. I'm a youth worker with Waterford and South Tipperary Community Youth Service. Our offices are based just down here on Manor Street. And I'm going to take a couple of minutes of your time just to tell you about the European opportunities that are available to you. So as an Irish citizen, you are also a European citizen, which means that you can avail of different services in the areas of education, employment, training and volunteering. This is usually done through the Erasmus Plus programme. So the Erasmus Plus programme is open to young people aged 13 to 30 years of age. They fund different types of programmes. So some of your schools or youth projects may be involved in youth exchanges. You may go off and study in a different college for a semester if you go to college. That's funded through Erasmus Plus, and you can also learn about jobs and internships. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the volunteering opportunities, which are called the European Solidarity Projects. So these are open to young people aged 18 years of age. And what it is allows young people to travel across Europe to get involved in different types of projects. So these can range from climate action projects, youth projects, kindergartens, old folks' homes, natural environment projects. And they range anything from 2 weeks up to 12 months. The best thing about these projects is that they are completely free. They're open to young people, and your flights, your accommodation, your food, your transfers, your insurance, all of that is covered. You get a small bit of pocket money. Now, you won't earn a lot of money, but what you will gain from it is experience. You will gain a new sense of confidence. You will also learn that intercultural learning, learn about a new country, a new culture, and you will come back from that project with such an amount of soft skills that you have learned from over there that it will help you in your life. So the reason that the European Union funds these projects is to build up young people, to make them realise that their contribution to the world is very valued, and it will hope that you will go on and do bigger and better things. So if you want to register for any of these projects, you can register in what's called the European Youth Portal. And if we have an information stand in the vestibule, so if you want to go out and pop your email down, we'll send you all the links to it. You do have to be 18 to do the volunteering projects, but you can register from 17. If your school or your youth project are interested in doing youth exchanges, you can find out through Lérgus, which is the national agency for Ireland. And there's so many opportunities, and I really just urge you to think about what's available to you and try it for 2 weeks. You're at no loss. And if you go over and it's not great, you can just come home. So as I said, we're out in the lobby, so you can pop over and talk to myself or Enda, and we'll give you all the information. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Amy, very much. Now, you probably noticed when you came in that there was a bag of stuff on your chairs. Did you guys pick that up? Everyone have those? Those are for you. They're presents. But in there, you'll find there's a few Post-it notes. There's also a pen. And what we're going to ask you to do is, over the course of the time that we spend together, if you could think of any action that you might be willing to take to improve our world, improve the EU, improve Waterford, to write it down. And we've got a wall of action, which you may have noticed out in what we call the vestibule out there. And so when you're leaving, if you can just stick those Post-it notes up on the call to action wall, that would be great. So our next speaker, we're very lucky to have Dr. Mary C. Murphy. Mary is originally from Waterford and holds the John Monnet Chair in European Integration and is a senior lecturer in politics with the Department of Government and Politics at University College Cork. Mary teaches both undergraduate and postgraduate level at UCC, and her teaching responsibilities include the delivery of a number of modules on EU politics, Northern Ireland politics, and conflict studies. This morning, and this is really important stuff for all of us at all times, she's going to explore divisive and destructive how fake news is challenging Europe. And so please, can we put our hands together and welcome Mary to the stage?
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and as you just heard, I went to school in Waterford myself, and now I'm teaching in University College Cork, and I teach in lecture halls every day, but this is really very different to be standing here in the Theatre Royal in Waterford. It's a real pleasure. So, well, I've been asked to talk to you today about fake news, about disinformation, about misinformation, about why it's important and how destructive and divisive it can potentially be. So it is something that's of importance to all of us, young and old, male and female, etc., etc. So let me just start with the first slide. We'll go to the next one, please. And just to give you a few definitions, I suppose, to begin with. There's a difference between misinformation and disinformation. Misinformation is really false information, but it's information, false information, which is not delivered with the intention to deceive. So it's effectively a mistake. Somebody makes a mistake and shares a piece of information that's just misleading or wrong or inaccurate. Disinformation is a little more concerning, however. Disinformation is a false or misleading statement, but it's actually being delivered intentionally. So it's being delivered with the intention of misleading, and it's something that's of serious concern. It's often disguised as serious news. So you'll often see various different websites, for example, which look authentic and which look like they are telling the truth. But on a number of occasions, these kinds of websites are actually producing misleading and inaccurate information. And disinformation as well is also linked to the spread of conspiracy theories. So all of those different theories about various different events down through the years, putting a spin on those theories and presenting them as something that they're effectively not. Now, the problem with misinformation and disinformation is it makes it very, very difficult for people like you and me to understand what's true and what's false. So to understand the difference between factual stories and fictitious news, something that's simply been just made up for a deceitful purpose. And the spread of misinformation and disinformation is, of course, aided by technology. So it's aided by the internet, and in particular, it's aided by social media, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, etc., etc. And these are becoming very, very challenging social media platforms for those who are trying to manage the sharing of disinformation and misinformation. And the problem with this, sort of more broadly for society as a whole and for all of us, is that it creates a climate which is conducive to what we call populist forces. And they're particular types of political movements which have particular features and characteristics which can be problematic in some democratic societies. So the next slide looks at what exactly populism is. Now, populism is, I suppose the best way to understand populism is it's very much anti-establishment. So it's very much against the elite. And it's opposed to all sorts of things. It's opposed to the way in which economies are being run in this contemporary period. It's opposed to globalization, you know, the free movement of people across borders. And populism is also important in the context of the significance it gives to the individual state, to the nation state. It sees the nation state as being the most important and the most supreme authority within societies. So it's very, very much based on an attachment to your national identity and to your nation state itself. And I suppose the problem with that, for those of us who live in the European Union, is that populists often reject the European Union and are very, very skeptical about the European Union. Sometimes populism is also associated with opposition to immigration. In some cases, it can be complete opposition to immigration. In other cases, it can be a preference for controlled immigration, so setting limits on the numbers of people who move into a country at any one time. And the next slide will show you the way in which we've seen populism in action in recent years. So, for example, you can think of the election of Donald Trump in the United States. And I know you'll all remember Donald Trump when he was president. He was very prone to saying things like down with the elite and clearing out Washington. So very much in that anti-establishment category. In Europe, we see it in France. We saw it recently in France. Emmanuel Macron is the president of France, but he was recently up against Marine Le Pen. Now, Marine Le Pen is associated with the National Rally Party in France, and that's a party that's very much populist, really quite Eurosceptic, and has big concerns about immigration. The Brexit vote in the UK just a few years ago in 2016 is another example of the way in which populism played out. And as we know, the UK has now effectively left the European Union. What we've also seen in recent years is that populist parties are increasingly becoming part of national governments. In the past, populist parties existed and they won some votes and they won some seats, but never enough to take a place in government. But that's something that's begun to change in recent years. So just earlier this year in Italy, the Brothers of Italy party, led by Giorgia Meloni, a far-right populist party, is now in government in Italy. And the more extreme example of populism in action at the moment is in places like Hungary and Poland, which are also members of the European Union. And in these two countries, what we've actually seen is what we call authoritarian tendencies. So in other words, I guess a disrespect for democratic principles, a disrespect for democratic institutions, and also, maybe most worrying, is a disrespect for certain human rights, like the freedom of expression and the freedom of speech, like the rights for the LGBTQ+ community, and like rights for women, particularly in relation to certain abortion services. And that has led to what we call democratic backsliding. And there's very serious concerns about the ways in which certain societies and certain countries, particularly in Central and Eastern Europe, are sliding backwards towards authoritarianism and not complying with the democratic principles that you and I would all be familiar with here in Ireland. Now, the decisions, obviously, made by these types of political parties have repercussions. They have repercussions in the societies where those populist parties exist, but they also have repercussions for the European Union, because these parties are very anti-European Union and want to see the European Union, in some cases, they want their countries to leave the European Union. Now, the next slide gives you an idea of the way in which we've seen a growth of populist parties over time. So this particular graph shows you the increase in the vote share of populist parties since 1992. The ones in pink and in red are far-left populist parties, and the ones in blue are far-right populist parties. And it's the far-right ones who've seen a particular growth in size. But you can see now that in many European states, many states even around the world, they're accounting for over 10% of the popular vote. So 1 in every 10 people in these countries is supporting a party which has particular views. The next slide shows you the growth in Eurosceptic parties. Most populist parties will be Eurosceptic. They will not be fans of the European Union. And we've seen a growth in Eurosceptic parties as well, both on the far left and on the far right. But again, it's the far right which is growing more substantially in this regard. So you can see in Europe in recent years, since 1990, from being like a very, very small force, 2, 3, 4% in most societies, to now being in some countries in and around 15%, and in some countries substantially more than that. So the next slide just gives you a sense of how disinformation and misinformation affected one particular case study, and that's the Brexit vote, when the citizens of the UK voted by a very, very small margin to leave the European Union in 2016. Now, we've studied this debate and this campaign, and it's fair to say that it was very populist in terms of the language that was used, in terms of the rhetoric, in terms of the narrative, in terms of the words, in terms of the images. It was very, very populist in character. And there was also elements of conspiracy within there as well, and that was being shared by some very senior politicians in some cases. Some of the tactics which were used were very sophisticated in terms of trying to influence voters one way or the other. And one example, and perhaps the most prominent example of the way in which information was misleading during this campaign, was in relation to a campaign slogan. And this is the campaign slogan that was being shared by the Vote Leave campaign, so those who wanted the UK to leave. It said, "We send the EU £350 million a week to the EU. Let's fund our NHS instead." And the NHS is the National Health Service in the UK. Now, the problem with this slogan is that this slogan is just not true. It's completely misleading. The figure, 350 million, isn't sufficiently adjusted to take account of what the economic benefits of EU membership are, and the fact that the UK was getting, I think it was a £100 million rebate every week. And that, of course, is offset then against the 350 million. Now, this particular campaign slogan was very, very motivating and very mobilising for many, many voters in the United Kingdom, particularly those who were concerned about the health service and their access to the health service. And this campaign slogan was painted across the big red bus. And this bus and other buses like it toured the UK during the referendum campaign. So it was very, very visible, as well as being stated very frequently by those who were campaigning in favour of leave. And the key point here is it wasn't true. It was inaccurate. But despite that, it mobilised people to support the Leave campaign. Now, the next slide is another example of some of the false claims that were made during the campaign, and some of the discrediting of experts that happened during the campaign. So the first gentleman here on top is Michael Gove. He's an MP and a member of the Conservative Party. He was a very senior member of the Conservative Party during the referendum campaign. And he stated during the campaign, "I think the people in this country have had enough of experts." Now, this was a very, very troubling suggestion, because if we're not going to rely on experts to provide us with accurate information, then we're creating a debate which is informed by inaccuracy and by misleading statements. And the fact that a senior government minister was rejecting the experience and the views and the evidence which experts could provide helped to create a campaign which, at an overall level, was very concerning. Nigel Farage was the leader of the UK Independence Party, and Nigel Farage has been a real maverick figure in British politics down through the years. He was very much in favour of the UK leaving the European Union. And he suggested during the campaign that the UK would be forced to allow huge numbers of Turkish migrants into the UK if the UK stayed in the European Union. Now, again, this was a very, very misleading statement. Turkey is not a member of the EU. Turkey does hope to one day be a member of the EU, but at the moment that is not a prospect for Turkey. And even in the event that Turkey was to join, that would be dependent on a unanimous vote by all of the member states of the EU. So in other words, the UK would be able to veto Turkish membership if they so wished. So this statement was again something which was completely misleading to the campaign. The next slide just looks at some of the interference in the Brexit campaign itself. And Russian social media accounts are very important here. There were pro-Brexit Russian social media accounts which were active during the EU referendum campaign. And those social media accounts, those bot accounts, they were using Twitter in particular, but other platforms like Facebook as well, to influence voters in favour of Brexit. So they were pushing some of this disinformation during the campaign in an effort to sway those who engage with social media. In general, Russian disinformation aims to sow discontent, and it aims to sow division. And it's all about pushing anti-Western sentiment. So this is part and parcel of some of what we've seen coming out of Russia in recent years in terms of how they engage with social media. They use social media as a means to sow division within individual states. And they did so during the Brexit referendum campaign. Facebook was also heavily criticised during the campaign. It was harvesting voters' personal data, and it was using it in psychological profiling to target political advertising at certain groups. And we also know as well that the Vote Leave campaign, there are very strict rules about how much you can spend during a referendum campaign. And we know subsequently that the Vote Leave campaign overspent. There are some concerns about where some of that finance came from. And the key point here is that that overspend was a criminal offence. And again, the Vote Leave campaign has been subject to heavy criticism overall for the way in which it conducted itself. So the last slide then is just a summary really of maybe what you might take from these short few words. The elimination of misinformation and disinformation, it doesn't necessarily mean that the Brexit vote might have been different. So we can't be sure that if it had been a better campaign, that the vote might have been different. But what we do know is that it created a very toxic campaign, and it created a very poor campaign and a very unhealthy campaign. And if we can remove misinformation and disinformation from the broader narrative, that does help to clean up campaigns, but it also creates a much better informed electorate. People who have the tools and the equipment to make decisions which are going to affect their lives. Because for those who voted for Brexit in the UK, that decision has extraordinary implications for various different groups and constituencies across the United Kingdom. And I suppose many of us would argue that people weren't given the sufficient information that they needed to make the decision that was best for them at that time. So all of this, I suppose, underlines a need for vigilance and for sanctions to deal with disinformation and misinformation and its political effects. But it's very, very difficult to police this area, and it's something we spend a lot of time trying to work out. Let me finish just by saying that, importantly, we should all be aware that Ireland hasn't really been subject to populist forces of any great magnitude in recent years. And we also haven't been seriously affected by misinformation and disinformation. But Ireland does have a history of holding referendums. So there is a potential for there to be this kind of effect in Ireland. So I suppose I finish on that word of caution in relation to how we all engage with information and how we use it and how we remain vigilant in terms of how we judge it. So thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mary. Both interesting and scary at the same time. So Grace O'Sullivan, who you probably all know, is from Tremor County, Waterford, and she is one of our MEPs for Ireland South. Don't get too excited, she's not in the room. We tried. She is an environment and peace activist, an environmental education specialist, and an ecologist. And she would have really loved to have been here with us today. But European Parliament is in session, so she had some work to be doing today. But she has sent a special message in for all of us, which is going to play up here behind me.
Hello, good morning. My name is Grace O'Sullivan, and I'm delighted to be talking to you all today as you come together through the work of Europe Direct in the wonderful Theatre Royal in Waterford, a theatre dating back to the 1700s and which continues to be so important in the cultural landscape of Waterford and the South East. As some of you know, I am a Green member of the European Parliament representing the constituency of Ireland South. As an MEP, I work throughout the 12 county constituency at home as well as in Brussels and on occasion in Strasbourg for the plenary sessions of the European Parliament, which is where I'm working this week and why I'm connecting with you by way of video rather by being with you in person. I can only imagine the buzz and energy in the theatre there with students from all over the Southeast. It is so good after these tough years of being apart to be able to come together and exchange ideas and views and to know that you have allies and support when it comes to facing environmental challenges and bringing a greener future. This year, European Year of Youth, may be drawing to a close, but I would say that every year is a year of youth when it comes to demanding that those in positions of power urgently increase the scale of their ambition and action when it comes to addressing the climate and biodiversity crisis. We have seen the most extraordinary leadership from young people, which has gained momentum over the past few years and found an expression in the Global Fridays for Future movement sparked by Greta Thunberg, and also in the climate strikes in the US, stemming from the activism of young people against the Dakota Access Pipeline at Standing Rock. There are many paths open to you, all to engage with these issues. When I was 20 years of age, I joined Greenpeace, beginning a lifelong activism which ranged from years on Greenpeace ships, including the Rainbow Warrior, to scaling the bow of a Russian nuclear warship. While my work is now within the political structures of the European Union, I still consider myself primarily an environmental activist. You are the agents of change, and whether you choose to affect that change through science and innovation, by being educators, by engaging in environmental activism, or by participation in political organisations and structures, you will continue to shape the conversation and actions with that sharp clarity and truth that young people bring. The most powerful energy source is the power of people. While the challenges can sometimes be overwhelming, I urge you to believe in the power of your voice. What you do makes a difference. In the words of Greta Thunberg, when enough people come together, then change will come and we can achieve almost anything. Instead of looking for hope, we can create it. Thank you.
Okay, I did promise you at the start that this was going to be mostly about hearing from young people, and that's where we're going now. So next up, we welcome Grace Brosnan and Saoirse Firth, who have been members of, I say this really badly, so I apologize, Corla na Nog. How'd I do? Perfect, they said. All right. Of Waterford Corla na Nog since 2020. During the pandemic, they worked remotely to develop a project to make young people's lives in Waterford a little bit better. They worked together to identify a need and developed an app and tree planting project, which they are here to tell you about today. It's called the Native Irish Tree, Train, and Community. Please welcome Grace and Saoirse.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to meet you. My name is Grace Brosnan, and I am currently the Secretary of Waterford Corla na Nog.
I am Saoirse. I'm currently the National Exec of Waterford Corla na Nog.
And today we are here to talk to you a little bit about Waterford Corla na Nog and our 2021 project. Waterford Corla na Nog is the Youth Council of Waterford. There are 31 Corla na Nogs in Ireland under the local authority of the country, which give children and young people the opportunity to be involved in the development of local services and policies. They accept members between the ages of 12 and 17, and they are designed to enable young people to have a voice on the services, policies, and issues that affect them in their local area. Each Corla accepts roughly 30 members to represent the youth in the county. Here in Waterford, we have 26 members from all over the county. Each Corla has a committee and a national executive to represent us at a national level. At the moment, Saoirse is our national executive, so I will now hand you over to her to let her tell you a little bit more about what that role entails.
Hello everyone, as I said earlier, I'm Saoirse and I'm currently the National Executive for Waterford Sustainable. So the National Executive is a panel made up of 32 young people, which is one from every Corla constituency in the country. So our role is to, just like we do here in Waterford, we tackle problems, but we tackle them on a more national level. So we deal with the department, people like the NCCA, and so on. The last term of National Exec, they did a climate project, and for that project they developed a youth travel card, and it's effectively like a leap card, but it's just for youth, and I'm pretty sure it's 25% off of travel, and I think it's being rolled out at the minute, and it's approved by the department and all that. So, we work closely with, like I said earlier, departments and all that kind of things. And every 2 years we have something called Dawn and Og. Dawn and Og is where Corley from all over the country meet up, and they discuss, local problems, national problems, and they choose the topic for the national exec. So this year the topic was equality, and from that they chose to better RSE in schools, which is relationships and sexual education. So that is the project that we are currently working on, and I'm going to pass you back over to Grace now.
Similar to Dáil and Og, each Corla also hosts an AGM, which is our annual general meeting, except we do it annually. And at these AGMs, we decide our next topic and display all the work that we put into our last topic. This November, we invited young people from all around Waterford to help decide what our topic would be for 2023, and to show all the effort that was put into our topic this year. At the AGM, it was decided that we would continue our 2022 project, discussing the issues and identifying gaps in the relationship and sexual education programs in schools, similar to what the National Executive is doing. We also displayed all the work that we put into our 2021 project. In 2021, we focused on the topic of climate change and the natural environment. We decided to develop an app in order to best reach a wider audience.
So over the past few years, we have worked on an app called Community, and it's an app that helps people to realise how environmentally friendly and aware they are. The app was developed by In Motion in Armenia, who are partners with Waterford and South Tipperary Community Youth Service through Erasmus Plus programmes. The app gives users a list of environmental tasks to complete in order to grow their virtual tree. As well as virtual trees, we at Waterford Sustainable plant a physical tree every time people grow their tree to a certain size. You'll hear more details about this later. In a moment, we have a video for you to watch that will take you through the app, but before that, I will just explain the app a little bit more. There are 5 pages on the app: a news page, a task page, a page for your virtual tree, a settings page, and an information page. There are various tasks to complete on the task page. Some examples of these are go waste-free for a day, or find a new way for yourself to shop sustainably. As I said earlier, completing such tasks helps to grow your virtual tree. This also helps grow physical trees. On the news page, we upload local climate news to keep people in touch with what's happening locally. The app is currently undergoing an update, which will be completed soon, but you can still download it on Google Play Store and Apple App Store.
Hi there. We are members of Waterford Corlin and Nook, and we are here to present the Community app. Do you want to take care of our planet but don't know how to start? Then we are here to help. We present to you the Community mobile app. Our app will help you become an environmental activist. First, sign up to the app to get your own personalised virtual tree. Complete the 10 daily challenges by living an eco-friendly life. Each time you complete a challenge, your virtual tree grows. Once your tree is fully grown, the young people of Corla will plant a real tree for you. Sounds awesome, doesn't it? The app has 4 main sections. Local and international environmental news, a constantly updating challenge list, an information board to learn the quantity of trees planted, and information about our team and how to join. Sign up for free and join us today. Community app is available on Google Play and the App Store. Join us and help take the next steps in making Ireland greener.
As part of this project, Waterford, Corlin and Oak has planted on 2 separate projects, planting a combined 3,500 trees. We have planted these native Irish tree trails in Carriganore out by Wish Arena, which will be played in a video shortly, and in the following year, in March 2022, in the neighbourhood of Cherrymount here in town, the first native Irish tree trail, the first native Irish tree trail in Carriganore was a collaborative piece between Wish Forestry, represented by Tom Kent, the course leader for the 3-year Bachelor of Science degree in Forestry, and his students, Waterford and South Tipperary Youth Services, and Corlin and Oak. The next video shows how well it went out in Carriganore. The next video, currently playing in the background, shows all the hard work we put into the planting site out in Cherrymount. The native Irish tree trail in Cherrymount was also a collaborative project and would not have been a success without the aid of the Lion Club Trees for Life, the Waterford City and County Council, Wish, Corla and Coilcha, an Irish tree organisation who donated 1,500 trees, and of course the local community in Cherrymount who participated on the day. There are 26 diverse types of native Irish trees at these locations, including, but not limited to, the strawberry tree, the purging buckthorn, various types of willow trees, oak, and birch. Throughout 5 days in Carriganore and just 1 in Cherrymount, we grouped together to make the world a better place. While it was at times hard, I have found there is no better friendships than those forged that day as we try to avoid tows with shovels and lift bags of wood chippings, which took one man a few minutes to carry down and 3 Corla members just to empty out. These days prove to us just how easy things can be when we work together. And these trees will long outlast us and leave a lovely legacy for future Corla members as they continue to plant more around Waterford. New sites are currently being explored by the Waterford City and County Council. However, one has been found, and this project will continue in February 2023. We encourage you to download the app and join Corla if you so wish. You can sign up at our stall in the lobby, and you can also follow us on our Instagram and TikTok at Waterford Corlin and Oak. Thank you for listening.
That's just amazing, all of that they did with Corla, huh? So next, for your listening pleasure, we welcome our first Music Generation Waterford group, which consists of Stephen Dunford, Owen White, Axel Kugel, and Ben Whatmore. Sorry if I got any of your names, a little bit messy. They are involved in Music Generation Waterford's songwriting program that began in October of this year and runs weekly in the Central Library. They're setting up behind me in case you're wondering what's going on. Over the last 6 weeks, these 4 worked together to create 2 original pieces of music, one of which will be performed here today. Their music is atmospheric and introspective, drawing influence from alternative genres such as folk and indie music. Their well-considered, thoughtful approach to songwriting can be seen in this well-balanced and detailed original song, which is called Are You Still Dreaming? And in 1 second, we're going to welcome them to the stage. Please welcome Stephen and Axel on vocals and guitar, Owen on bass, and Ben on piano.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're just a small songwriting group that was with Music Generation Waterford. We'd like to say thank you very much to Music Generation Waterford, and this is a song we wrote over the last few weeks called Are You Still Dreaming? Thank you.
it feels so right. I know that you're leaving.
Thank you. Just once again, thank you to Music Generation Waterford. We have been Stephen, Ben, Owen, and Axel. Thank you very much.
Yeah, nice big hand for these guys. That was great. They just wrote that in the last couple weeks, you know, just hanging out, doing nothing but writing really good songs. So next up, we'd like to welcome Kira Murphy and Rihanna Noonan. These two were on the Erasmus Plus Youth Exchange during the last midterm, and they're going to come out and they're going to talk to you a little bit about their experiences. So welcome, Kira and Rihanna.
Hello, my name is Kira.
And I'm Rihanna.
And we did a youth exchange. So on the first leg of our exchange, 14 Finnish young people came to Waterford and did a week exchange. We did many activities with them, such as horse riding, Dunmarise Adventure Centre, hiking, swimming, and the Finnish got to learn more about the Irish culture. On the second leg of our exchange, 7 Irish young people went to Finland, where we engaged in many activities, which included hiking, a rocket workshop, and getting to know the Finnish culture. This was an amazing experience and a great opportunity for all of us. We learned more about the Finnish culture and made friends for life. It's also important to note that some young people that came with us had never been on a plane before, and because of this trip, they feel fully confident to travel by themselves now. It was an unforgettable experience with lots of memories made that we will cherish forever.
As Kira was saying, it was my first time travelling on a plane. It was a 22-hour journey to Mezzocartano, but we managed to cooperate with each other the entire way, and it was a very successful journey. The weather was very cold, but it was quite refreshing compared to the Irish weather. It was cold, but not as cold as we expected it to be. As the Pact project gave each person a €100 allowance to buy coats and whatever they needed, so we were well prepared. Our budget was completely covered by a Pact project. This youth exchange has brought me out of my comfort zone, especially with the travelling, and I would like to say it has made me much more confident being able to travel and meet new people by myself. When the Finnish people first arrived in Ireland, we weren't sure if we would get along, as it was very awkward at the start. But by the end of the week, we made a bunch of new life friends, and all of us are so grateful to be a part of this project. We are still in contact with many of the young Finnish people and are hoping we can meet once again. If this is something that interests any of you, you should talk to your youth worker or teacher to organise an exchange through Erasmus Plus. Thank you for listening.
Great job, you guys. Thanks so much. So we're also very pleased today to be able to present the winners of the European Soapbox competition for the Southeast region. The European Soapbox competition takes place each year, and it's on a different theme, and it's a spoken word. You record yourself, or actually, I think now that we're past COVID, we might start being able to do it in person again. This year's topic was, is Europe listening to its young people? And so we have first up our winner in the 16 and under category from Our Lady of Mercy Secondary School, Waterford, we have Aoife O'Connor.
Our anxiety does not empty tomorrow of its sorrows, but only empties today of its strengths. This is a quote by a man named C.H. Spurgeon, who outlines the effects of anxiety and its hardships. Anxiety, the youth of Europe and the world feel today, for causes out of their grasp, problems we may try our hardest to solve, but with what help? My name is Aoife O'Connor. I'm a 16-year-old transition year student in Waterford City, Ireland. And like many others my age, I can tend to feel anxious often, whether it's over my school studies, self-view, or relationships with others around me. These are normal, understandable things to feel worried about, and there are easy, accessible ways to ease the severity of these emotions. Europe. When I think of Europe, I think of 3 words. First, opportunity. In Europe, there is great opportunity for people struggling to move past mental health problems. There are solutions and help for people having hardships to do with mental health, especially anxiety, and empathy for those struggling is high. Europe takes pride in having therapy centres and helplines, though they are slim to none outside of office hours to help these people. Waiting lists are never ending, and there are gaps in services for our youth in comparison to the services for adults. But I want to ask, what help does Europe provide for young people struggling with problems that will affect their futures? In Ireland, 4 out of 10 teenagers have reported symptoms of depression and anxiety. Next word is hope. Hope for new memories, new friendships, new cultures, and new laughs, though hope has also been lost. To have friends be distraught that they have had to give up a dream college course because Ireland's housing crisis has left them without 4 walls and a roof over their head raises my anxiety higher. To have heard stories of college students camping outside their universities as they no longer can get accommodation, some sitting in their cars as they are much warmer there than in the homes they can't afford to heat, raises my anxiety higher. That links into my next word, home. Europe and Ireland is a home that I love and a home I want to stay in, though I wonder, will I ever have to say goodbye? When my anxieties are not listened to and my pleas are not answered, it's a home I may have to flee. How could anyone ever feel at ease in today's world? The EU say that 2022 is the European Year of Youth, shining a light on the importance of European youth to build a better future, more sustainable, inclusive, beautiful, and peaceful. The voices of today are the leaders of the future who will eventually raise the children of the future. So it is vital today that the young people of Europe are adhered to by the higher powers in the EU before it's too late and our future generation will have ended up emigrating outside of Europe. So, when I am asked, is Europe listening to its young people, I will answer no. No, they do not empathise enough with the panic of the rising cost of living. They do not welcome enough solutions when students are without accommodation in Ireland. They do not cater enough help for people crumbling under never-ending kitchen table bills. In 20 years, when I can hopefully ask my children what 3 words they associate with Europe, I'll hope that they'll reply with my trio: opportunity, hope, and home. And when I quiz them on why, I want the answers to make me feel proud. I want them to have an opportunity, the opportunity to have a wanted voice in society. I want them to say hope, hope for a bright future that they have a say in, and I want them to say home, a home they love as much as I did, one that they are loved in, and one that loves them back. When I think of Europe, I think of 3 words: one final chance.
That was incredible. Thank you so much, Aoife. And next up, we are lucky enough to have the winner in our 17 and over category. So we've got Aidan Keogh from Good Counsel College in New Ross, County Wexford. Welcome, Aidan.
The European Union hears the voice of its young people, but do not listen. Time and time again, we, the future of Europe, have begged for change and protested to achieve acknowledgement, of which all efforts have fallen on deaf ears. These failures were highlighting the EU's battle with climate change and how the countries of the EU dealt with Ukrainian refugees. We are seen to be heard, seen to be acknowledged, but in the end, our efforts come to no avail. So why is the EU failing its young people? Do European leaders want to be perceived as do-gooders when really a much different plan is unfolding? And what can Europe do to engage more with its young people? Well, the first question is a difficult one. There are many contributing factors to the EU's lack of communication and action. The EU and its member states do organise meetings targeted at young people, and we are given a chance to voice our concerns, but in most cases there is no further action, there is no genuine follow-up, and therefore there is no serious change. In retrospect, the governments of the EU have been very busy dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, the hysteria of the war in Ukraine, and the overwhelming energy crisis. Amongst all these global challenges, the voice of the youth is drowned out. We have fallen on the priority list, and the effects are devastating. The evidence of such is all around us. For instance, upon return to college this year, thousands of Irish students found it near impossible to secure accommodation. And if they did, it was at extortionate expense. Of course, the accommodation was filled by Ukrainian refugees. A valiant effort of the Irish government. But did the government plan for this commitment? Did the government consult the students or ensure accommodations will be available? No, they did not. Instead, they refused to acknowledge their fault. In fact, Michal said verbatim, "We're acutely aware of it, and there are no easy answers. Easy answers or not, these answers are needed." There was no follow-up to this statement. The governments are too hard-pressed, obliging to EU policies, and do not respect the position of the country at that exact time. we, as young people, are constantly advised to live within our means. Perhaps it is time the EU follows such a policy themselves, instead of tackling problems outside their control and focus more on internal development. So what can the EU do about this? The youth of Europe are a bank of ideas. I suggest a Department of Youth to be established in each EU member state, similar to the Department of Finance, Health, etc. A department designed to engage with young people via schools and social media. A specific Minister of Youth would be elected to represent the interests of young people. This would create a direct line for us to access and cooperate with our governments. Similarly, the EU would engage seriously with these departments, and that's when we will begin to see serious change. Ease of access will encourage young people to get involved with their futures. This will ensure that there is constant representation of the youth of Europe and will implement our interests into all decisions made by the government. Lastly, it is ironic that this project, addressing the EU's engagement with young people, will itself come to no avail. Whether I win or not, after this competition, the speech will probably be lost, and so too will all the videos sent in. The ideas will be acknowledged but not applied. This vicious cycle will continue if the youth are not heard and ideas are lost. Thank you.
Well done, Aidan. Thank you so much. It's really obvious how much work and research and thought went into those entries. The standard was very, very high this year, and so it really is a great achievement for both of our winners. We're lucky enough now to have Jerry Arthurs, who is a lecturer in international relations and politics at SET2, who was the sort of chairperson, not the sort of, the chairperson of the committee that determined the winners. So we'd like to offer Professor Arthurs out here to present the awards to Aoife and Aidan. Oh, there you are. Okay, come on. Okay, Aoife and Aidan, will you come back out?
So Aoife first. Aoife, congratulations. Congratulations, well done.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations again on achieving the first place in your categories, and thank them both very much for presenting them here today. It can be a tough thing to present in front of your peers. The final of that's going to be uploaded to the Libraries Ireland YouTube channel and will on 11 o'clock today week, so Monday the 19th. So to find out whether Aidan and Aoife made it into and won for the country, you can tune in at 11 o'clock on the 19th. And definitely, I would really encourage you guys to do this competition next year. So now we're going to welcome back some of our previous speakers along with a couple of fresh faces for our panel discussion. And in this discussion, really what we're looking for is to take some questions from the audience. So first coming out, we've got Saoirse Firth and Grace Brosnan. Would you like to come back out? And then we also have Kira and Rihanna joining us back on stage. Yeah. And finally, we're introducing Orla Hayes, who is a founding member of the Waterford Youth Action Climate Council. Orla is also the newly Dr. Orla, having just received her PhD in marketing, and she is also now working, I know if that wasn't enough, an EU project that looks to better serve our underemployed by matching people to jobs. And Orla, oh, well done. Hi, how you doing? And our panel will be moderated today by Grania Kennedy, who's the Waterford's Council Climate Action Coordinator. So thanks for everyone for participating in this.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. We're going to have a little chat here, a little conversation, but there'll be an opportunity for you to have your chance to ask these questions of people who have very varied and different experiences to maybe what you've experienced. But just to get things going, I'm going to ask a few questions, and I'll be posing them to certain members of our panel here. And if you have just a general question for the panel, you don't need to say a specific name, but if there's someone in particular that you'd like to ask a question of, we have Saoirse, Grace, Kira, Rhiannon, and Orla. Now, everyone remember those. Okay, so just to get us started this morning, it's some people say that speaking out loud and doing public speaking and different things like that is the thing that frightens them the most, more scary than anything else that could ever happen to them. So I would like to ask Orla first, why do you think it's so important to overcome those fears and worries and speak out for the things that are important?
I suppose when I was in secondary school, I was one of those people that would not talk to anyone. Like, I wouldn't even put my hand up and ask questions in school, and I was absolutely terrified. But I got involved with things like Waterford Youth Arts and things like that that helped me build my confidence, and that kind of gave me the chance to see that, like, my voice could be heard, that, like, people are interested in listening to what I say, people actually have an opportunity to listen to what I say. And in my work every day now, I'm seeing that young people in particular can actually change EU policies, can have an effect on what's going to happen locally, nationally, and even on an EU level. So it's really important to actually recognise that you have your voice and you should be able to use it.
Great. And I'd like to ask Saoirse the same question, actually. Oh, is it on?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Personally, I just, like Amy always says to us, everyone has like your best interests. You know, nobody's out to like get you or anything like that. Nobody's going to judge you for what you say, so you shouldn't care too much like if you stumble or you should just try your best. And yeah, I feel like that kind of lessens the nerves a good bit as well. Yeah.
And would you guys all agree it's practice as well? It's doing the little bits, even if your mum and dad are having you to get up and sing in front of family or whatever. It's all practice, to get the confidence up as you go on. So, like, we're talking about having your voice heard, but also about, the EU and the opportunities there. So, if I could ask Rhiannon, so how, you've been on a great big adventure. Yeah. How was that? Was it scary? Was there any time where you were a little bit unsure? And what made you feel good about things?
It was scary, like my first time travelling. So, especially with, obviously I knew the people, but not my family. It was more so the travelling that scared me, but I was with people that I trusted. And I think once you overcome that fear, you just love it. Lovely. It was a great experience. Like, it showed me that I'm confident enough. I can travel alone, that I don't need, someone by my side. It was a great experience. I'd 100% do it again.
Great. And Ciara, if you wouldn't mind, ask, what is the thing that you found most interesting about Finland? Because it's not somewhere everyone here would think immediately, or maybe it would, to go to. Yeah. So what did you learn about the country when you were there?
We learned a lot about the culture, like, because at the start before we went, we thought like all the food and stuff was going to be like all fish and like all of that stuff. But when we got there, like a lot of it was like, say, chicken, like all the stuff we'd have over here. And we thought it'd be freezing over there too, but it actually wasn't too bad because there was no wind. So I think we were most scared to kind of see the different like culture over there, but a lot of things are actually in common with Ireland as well. So
good to know. And if I could ask Grace, so you guys have done a very inspirational thing, I believe. You've kind of seen a problem and you've kind of figured out a way around it. What is it that you're inspired by? Who are you, do you look up to, or what kind of things do you like to think about? Or maybe no one inspires you. Maybe inspire yourself.
I suppose a very predictable answer would probably be my mother and my father.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I do is influenced by them. So like when I was growing up, my mother always had a phrase that if you're comfortable in your own skin, you'll be happy in life and stuff like that. And it's something that it's always stayed with me. And then I think it also helps me in terms of, like you said, standing up in front of people I don't really know and talking about what I want to be changed in the world. Mm-hmm. And then I also think people like Greta Thunberg, who's obviously going around and doing like great things in terms of climate change, especially as a young person, is quite amazing and is also very inspiring.
Great. Okay, so I've had my say. Is there anyone in the audience? There's roaming mics around. If you put your hand up if you have a question. I can't see a thing. Anyone see anything? Oh, yes, sorry. I'm getting the wrong information. If anyone would like to have a question there. I don't see any. Oh, this gentleman, yeah, go on. Yeah, good question. The fund, I suppose your flights and everything. Rhiannon, if you wouldn't mind.
So our project was covered by PACT completely. We didn't exactly have to spend anything. We brought spending money if you wanted to, but everything was covered by PACT. The spending money was more so on the flights. They were very expensive. I think they were like €800 or something. But again, they were completely covered by PACT, so we didn't have to spend anything.
Great.
So.
Yeah, like an opportunity like no other, I think. And another, well, this is not, it's a EU funding or EU initiatives, but there's also when you're older, you can go working on farms in other countries as well, and that's all free of cost. You have a question there in the second row? About standing out and being, sorry, I can't actually hear. Oh, Finland, sorry. I'm too far away from you here. So what stood out for you, the two of you guys, if you want to?
I think the thing that stood out most about Finland was the people, because there was a big stereotype about Finnish people. But Finland what stood out to me the most is a lot like Ireland. I felt like I was at home, even though I was in Finland, because it was so similar to Ireland, and the Finnish people are very similar to Irish people. That's what stood out to me the most, They're very similar to us.
Great. So. And Ciara, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, like Rihanna said, the Finnish people are a lot like Irish people. They're very outgoing, so we were very comfortable around each other. And we did many activities or whatever, but the thing I actually enjoyed the most was just being in each other's rooms in between when we had our free time and stuff. So,
great.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's a great opportunity in any European country to go and see how similar or how different they may be to us, and to do it in a way that's really well organised, and you don't have to kind of put yourself out to huge expense. So I think it's a good thing to consider. Do we have any more questions? Do we have any more hands up? Yeah, front row. What age do you have to be? I think Amy said you have to be 18 or 17. Was that right? Or
well, for our exchange, I was 16.
16.
So,
okay.
And some of the Finnish people were 15.
Yeah.
I think it's 15 up.
So 15 up, yeah. But there are specific schemes for people who are 18. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Like the girls have explained what Corlin and Oak is. Can I just ask what is PACT and what
yes.
Because a lot of students here wouldn't know about it.
Yeah.
So PACT project is a Garda youth diversion project, and it's a part of the Waterford and South Tipperary youth community services. So.
Okay. So if you're participating in the youth services, you'll become familiar with it. Is that okay? Yeah, good. Okay, I have a bit of a cheeky question, and because I'm the... Oh, stop, yeah. God forgive me, I made a strange comment, but I'm saying this is from a personal point of view, because I'm writing with my colleagues next year, we're writing the climate action plan for the county. So this is basically the plan for the next 5... Oh, I really walked into that, didn't I? The next 5 to 10 years on what we're going to do in the county to achieve our climate goals. So that's from the point of view of reducing carbon emissions and also from protecting our county and our city from any climate change impacts. But for me, often the way that we kind of go out to young people, or we try to engage people in different things that we're trying to do in the council, can sometimes miss young people, and maybe young people aren't consulted on these things. So I'd just like to ask the panel, if anyone has any thoughts, what advice would you give someone like a county council or a government department on how they can engage better with young people? So if anyone would like to take that, maybe take a second before you. Yeah, Orla would like to.
Yeah. I think I have a degree in marketing, so but it's something that I'm really interested in. That was loud. Maybe I'll just stop talking. It is engaging with projects like PACT and engaging with young people in either their school level or at community service level or at youth action council level. So actually getting the voices and being able to talk in person with young people, I think.
I mean, I don't really have a say on that.
That's okay.
But I think it's more so just listening to the young people.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we all have a voice, no matter
Yeah.
how young or old you are. So, you know. Back to
Grace, were
Ciara.
you going to say something? You have your microphone, or are you?
Sorry, yeah. I was just going to say, like Orla said, I think it's really important that you do engage with young people, especially in schools. And then obviously, like in Corlin and Oak, we're often contacted by like various organisations and agencies who are looking for like the voice of a young person who want our perspective. So I think that's a really good way of like going about it. Like you just have to contact people.
And just actually, while you say this, how does someone become a member of Corlin Oak? Sorry, I might have missed some of your talk there, but...
Well, you can sign up. So you just have to be between the ages of 12 and 17. And we actually have a sign-up sheet outside in the lobby where you all were earlier this morning at our stall. So you can just write down your name and your email address, and our coordinator, Amy, would be in contact with you. And we also have an Instagram.
Great. Ciara, do you have any bits of advice on how to engage people?
I'd say just kind of different youth groups and stuff like that. And feeling more confident and actually having a look and seeing what is around Waterford, what you can get involved in and stuff like that. So.
And Saoirse, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, just like Ciara just said there, like getting in touch with, you know, youth services and, you know, kind of things like that in your community for young people to get involved in.
Okay, so for you guys, as having completed a project, a successful, well, we all have completed a successful project. What were maybe the things that you found were a bit challenging when you were to do your project, and how did you overcome them?
I think for us, it was with the tree planting, you know, it seems like such a big project, you know, to plant a couple thousand trees. But I really think that was our biggest problem. But to be honest, I don't think it was a big problem because we had such a big team around us and we are always working together. So our problems are, you know, way smaller than they seem because we're all working together. So they kind of get smaller in size when you're working together with other people.
Great. Okay. I'm just conscious that I haven't looked out in the audience. Any more questions? I can't see anyone at the top. I'm blinded. Okay, so we'll just, I think we might finish up there, but I just have one last question for you all. So what advice would you give a young person who feels passionate about a particular topic and wants to have their voice heard? So if you want to start there, Saoirse?
So I'd say getting involved in the youth service and places like Corlin and Oak that, you know, help give young people a voice. Yeah,
there's already structures there in these organisations, and you don't need to go and invent it yourself. You can go and influence the projects that a group like Corlin and Oak or Slee or other groups might have. So do you have a thought on that?
I think my answer is fairly similar to Saoirse's. It's just get involved, but then also I'm quite conscious that a lot of you are in TY, and TY really is what you make of it. So you don't have to get involved in organisations like Corlin and Oak or, like you said, the ones that the girls were involved in. While they are like quite beneficial, there's like organisations in TYs that you can sign up to and you can really make the most of the year. And then some of them continue beyond TY. So I think it's a great idea to like talk to your coordinator and see what's available to you.
Yeah, and there is campaigns in the local library service and different things like that as well. So it always pays to take a look at notice board and different things. Ciara, do you have any
I'd say mine is quite similar as well, but I'd say go, like if you're that passionate about something, go research it yourself. Yeah. And see if there's organisations or things like groups or whatever, if like that you can go to instead of just waiting for something to come around.
Yeah, the information is there, so it's to try and find your way around it. Yeah. And would you guys have any thoughts, Rhiannon and Orla?
Yeah, again, same. It's similar. I generally do believe you should reach out. You know, try new opportunities. You know, because you're young. You know, you may as well live your life and. The youth exchange we went on really did go well, and I genuinely believe a lot of people would love it. You know, I'm very passionate about it now, and I truly do believe that if you see the opportunity, you should reach out for it while you can, because there are plenty of others that might want that opportunity. It might be too late by the time you want to do it. So
absolutely. And our last speaker.
Afraid of this microphone now. I think engage with your teachers engage with youth community leaders and stuff like that, because if you have a passion and there maybe isn't an organisation or there isn't a group that you know about, your teachers might know about it, someone in the school might know about it, somebody in your youth services might be able to recommend an Erasmus Plus programme or something to you, so ask.
And I think if you're very passionate about something, sometimes you can kind of feel like different challenges, or you mightn't feel like you have all the answers, which is absolutely the case for everyone, be they an adult or a young person or whoever they are. But I think sometimes just to even get started and build that, you know, confidence of I've contributed to this bit, and these are all things that we need more and more of in the world. And I think the expression years ago was like, find what makes you come alive in life and do that thing. And then that's really what we all get the benefit of, that we have so many young people who are passionate about what they want to do, are active in their own communities, and are enjoying themselves as well, because who wouldn't want a 2-week trip to Finland? So thank you very much for your attention this morning, and we will have Jen will join us for the last session. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks very much to Grania and to all of our panelists once again. I think that was really interesting. So for our final piece of entertainment, we are going to welcome to the stage Lily Power, Scott Keepock, and Harry Haddon. Lily, Scott, and Harry, yeah, that's right, woohoo is right, are students from Newtown Secondary School, of course, here in Waterford. They're currently in 5th form. Someone wrote form for me. I would have said 5th year. And all studying music as a Leaving Cert subject. While they were in transition year, they got together as part of Music Generation Waterford's songwriting module, which gave them the opportunity to explore songwriting and learn some tools of the trade. During that time, they wrote a song called All Summer Long. Following this, because that's not enough, right? So following this, they went to Windmill Studios in Dublin to record the song and have since released it on Spotify. So we're just about set up. Okay, so that's great. So please welcome Lily on vocals, Scott on guitar, and Harry on piano to the stage performing their original track, All Summer Long.
the ocean and seas. They're calling me out to leave all of the rain in the past. Maybe I'm finally back to my own priorities. My health and happiness. People live to bring others down, and I'm so over that now. Let's leave the party. I'm over everybody. Hands in my hair, sun in my eyes. Driving in your car until sunrise. So come with me. I'll show you what life could be. Summer evenings and I'm feeling nothing like the bad vibes that I've left behind. Flying free and every week's a weekend. Miss the season, give me a reason. I'm in love with this summer feeling. Feeling high off the sun that's shining down. Shining down. So come with me. I'll show you what life could be. Summer evenings and I'm feeling nothing like the bad vibes that I've left behind. Flying free and every week's a weekend. Miss the season, give me a reason. I'm in love with this summer feeling. Feeling high off the sun that's shining down. Shining down.
Oh my, that was fantastic. All right, what a nice way to end our morning on. So I want to remind you to fill out your Post-it notes and tell us the sort of actions that you'd be willing to take. I want to remind you that there's lunch out there in the vestibule, filled blahs, I hear. And finally, thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we all did. Take care. Safe home, everyone.